pleasure to be here as always. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to firstly thank you for coming here, for flying in Vilnius, our capital of Lithuania. And I think it's becoming the tradition for the past 7 years to gather up here in the town hall of Vilnius. And before I will start, I would like to just send a remark to Christina and the Agri-Food Lithuania team that maybe it's about time to start the discussion and negotiation with the office of the town hall about the long-term rental. Because with the energy of Agri-Food Lithuania, I think the events will gonna be taking place here in about a week or two each second month. So maybe it's gonna be cheaper to save some budget. Now, my goal today is to wrap up on what I have heard today from you, the way how I understood what discussions were taking the place here, and I would like to make a few remarks on the document what have been signed here today and delivered to the commissioner. Now, before going there, just a short recap. So the last time, the majority of the people I see the same, and once again, pleasure, and thank you for that. We've been here last November when our biggest annual event, the Agri-Food Business Forum, was taking the place. And there, well, my outfit now today it's more country style, but there I was more militarized because of the crisis which striking the Europe and the world when Russian aggression is targeted to the Ukraine. But then I was talking from the agri-food perspective and saying that we, as the ecosystem of the agri-food, education, science, business, finances, we also have common enemies such as pollution, such as failures in supply chain, and such as the food prices. And there I was inviting for the call on action to all of us to build an army which would be named a network of networks, an army without the boundaries, without the borders, without specific directed governance, but an army which would have the common goals and common beliefs. So the thing is, symbolic number, 91 days has passed from the Agri-Food Business Forum, and then today you all have gathered here, and the highest level stakeholders and those people, the brave ones, which you see back behind my back, have come here today to say that and to commit that you're planning to support, you're planning to help, and you're planning to work so the rural communities would become attractive for the startup ecosystem. So firstly, I would like audience to applaud those brave ladies and gentlemen here now. Applause is enough. Now, since the politician has left the stage and Honorable Maria Gabriel has left the stage, so I would like to get on my kickstart and fire up of the keynote is to bring a little bit from down the politics to the ground level. So I would like to ask, ladies and gentlemen, do you have at least a clue what kind of document you have signed today? Because in my personal understanding, and I told you that today I'm talking from my personal remark perspective. In my understanding, the manifesto or the memorandum you have signed, it's not about strategic partnership to make agri-food industry better. It's not about generic collaboration, and it's not just a single project. If I would be able to define what actually you've done today, which again, it's really brave, I would say that you have signed institutional marriage agreement for the upcoming 10 years. And as in the marriage happens, that sometimes you see a long run path, sometimes it's narrow, sometimes it's scary to go there, sometimes it's kind of excited to go, and as always, you need to be side by side with each of you and to hold the hand. And why I'm saying that it's gonna be long-term perspective marriage, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to disrupt socio-economical status and system what's happening now in the world. Why that? Because for the past 2-3 decades, European Union, each of the countries were investing gazillion of money, intellectual knowledge, experience to make cities, the big cities, urban cities where people are living, make them nice to live, perfect to study, great to do the business and to work there. And now today, if we are looking from the perspective, which is absolutely true, and I was reading the manifesto, so technically you're stating that you would like to make the balance in between the cities and the villages. So from the urban perspective, you are moving people out of the cities. It makes sense to say that you are making the balance in the competition as well, and competition always brings up the high value. But technically, you're moving money out of the cities. And the commissioner and the Minister of Environment was talking about the fact that about the quality of life, and village is a perfect place to be for that. But technically, you are moving the potential out of the cities. So you are disrupting the things, the mental, intellectual, and financial capital what was built within the past 3 decades right now. That's why I'm saying you're really brave. I wish you best luck. Once again, from my side. Anyway, as you know, I'm the patron of the event, so I also believe in that, and I will be side by side with you, my promise. Maybe not exactly in that marriage what you've done, but side by side like a marriage consultant. That's my role, I would prefer. And before going to tackle up a few of the problems, talking about the villages and some of the solutions, I would like to just define to understand and to make the agreement what kind of game we're playing and what kind of rules there are. Because I was expecting today to be more political, the beginning, the first part of the event, when I was really surprised that it was not. And just to repeat what Commissioner was saying is that today's topic is not that we talk about empowering the regions. Today we have one very simple task to do, which is very difficult, but it's clear. We are talking how to make villages smart, digital, independent, and a place or a mecca where the startup ecosystems would like to come up. So forget about the regions in general. We are talking about rural, small villages, so they would become the ecosystem hubs for the startups. This is the goal. Just wanted to make the agreement on the definition so we could continue further. Again, personal perspective, but in average, the way how I see the rural areas and the villages all across the Europe, I think I've been in all of the countries. So it's that whether industrial or agricultural, which is good because of the creating of the jobs and companies there and corporates. And nowadays it's super popular to talk about that, big guys, big companies. Unfortunately, I am among those bad guys. I promise that I will try to change my attitude with you together. But everyone is talking about supporting the startups, supporting the youth, supporting, entrepreneurship, which in my opinion is less about supporting and more about exploiting the startups. Because I've seen many of the examples, even in those companies where I've been investing, that the big guys are coming and saying exactly what kind of challenge the startup or the young company has to tackle to the corporate guys. But this becomes more of the contractual work for the company instead of the visioneering, what's supposed to be when we are talking about the startups. It's supposed to be visioneering about their beliefs, not be hired by the contract to do a job for a big guys. And my opinion here is that we need to stop talking, and the industry needs to stop talking about supporting the startups. What we need to do, and where we need to throw a bunch of money, is we need to support the ecosystem where the startups would be able to thrive and to be able to develop the things what they like to do. So we need the lighthouses. And today in the manifesto and people in the panels, we're talking about that. So we have digital innovation hubs. We have European Digital Innovation Hub. We have EAT. We have clusters. So those supposed to be the lighthouses or the beacons where the money should come in, so they would be able to foster the ecosystem and to prepare the playground where it would be convenient and comfortable for the people to start to work, do the visioneering, but not being contracted. It's not about the outsourcing. It's about creating, the highest possible value there. Another thing is that, there is a real world and romantic fairy tale. And when we are talking about the ideal, it's, young family coming to the village to live, buying a house, building the house, whatever. They're having nice garden, building the greenhouse, growing the vegetables, super sustainable. Kids are playing in the forest. Amazing. No traffic, no pollution, nothing. But then when the urban family, the young family comes to the village to live, they start to realize that to start with, there are no restaurants and pubs, what was really there to relax and chill during the weekends. Kids have nothing to do after the school because the infrastructure for the alternative education, the alternative activities is not there already. And even the real estate, what they bought there or they built, it has times lower liquidity, if so, at least they have there. So, I mean, they are kind of a little bit trapped, to be honest, in a nowadays. I'm not talking about the Lithuania, I'm talking in general of majority of the countries. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, those who signed the manifesto, so from the black and white, you need to make that colorized picture. So, congratulations. That's why I'm saying you are in deep, deep marriage. Now, a few examples from my side and mistakes, do's, don'ts. I remember it was 2012, Shenzhen, China. One of the companies where I invested the money, it's called Food Sniffer. Anyway, it's a company which we're building the gadget to check the food authenticity and quality. And we went to China by having the expectations that, you know, China, huge market, they are having big issues with preserving the food, with the food spoilage, food poisoning cases, blah, blah, blah. And when we came there, I started to talk with the possible partners, retailers, distributors, and they said, mate, listen, it's all friendly. You didn't get the point about the China, because when they are eating the seafood, they are buying it live. So whether it's swimming, crawling, walking, they are buying something what's still living. If it's not alive anymore, they are doing the deep fry, when all the bacteria is going to be killed and there is no food poisoning cases there. So the moral is that it was total fiasco for us, but the moral as of today is that when we are talking about specific ecosystem, region, geographical, economical, whatever, we need to understand to whom we are addressing, what we are saying, and the most important thing is, do they really need what we are talking about or offering them? So once again, as today we are talking here about the Startup Village initiative, about fostering the rural areas, how many of you spend at least half of the year talking with the rural area representatives? Well, George, yes, some of the people, nice, 3. Okay, all of you are, I know, perfect. But 3 out of 200, it's a little bit tragic, no? So, 4, thank you so much. I have only 12 minutes left, so I will not count all the hands because you're shy. So maybe during the break, you're going to be braver, you know? The other example, last one from my personal experience, is that I love to travel. I love to do the business in different continents. All those pictures, what you see in the screen is from my past 10 years. Of course, no, 10 years ago, I was younger and prettier and whatever, but what to do? And but none of the pictures are from the holiday or a vacation. All those pictures were taken during the business meeting and the business trips, meeting my partners and the friends. Who is coughing? Like, shut down the microphone. So, and what I want to pinpoint here is that when we are going to different societies, whether eating the insects in Cambodia or in Senegal, wearing the Muslim outfit, you know, praising the gods in Indonesia, half naked, whatever, or singing the mariachi songs in Mexico. Now we started one interesting deal in Mexico. You need to blend in and you need to understand how people are thinking. You need to talk common language, even not the verbal language, but the outfit, the understanding, and the problems that has to be there. So I just would like to say that today you all look super pretty and beautiful and elegant with the black, blue suits and gorgeous dresses as ladies are, but this fits only the town hall in Vilnius. When you will start actually to work on what you committed in the manifesto, try to think how you need to look like and try to think how you need to talk like. Because the business and the political matters, I think Honorable Commissioner said that, you know, in the rural areas, it's a little bit different. You don't need to be smart. You need to do a lot of things. A little bit of historical lesson. I can quote So 1862 Homestead Act accelerated settlement of US Western Territory by allowing any American, including freed slaves, this I would exclude nowadays, to put in a claim for up to 163 acres of free land. And the picture is of 1889. It was Oklahoma land chase, if you heard about it, when 50,000 people has gathered up, and after the green light or a pistol shot, they were going and trying to pinpoint and pick up the most prosperous and the biggest and most beautiful land plot for them to settle in. I don't want to say in this slide that we need to start to give away the money for the urban people to come to live in the villages, or to give the land, or to give the apartments. I want to say that if you, we, me, whoever is trying to work on the strategy that the villages has to be for the startups, we need to think about the dream. We need to think about the story, and we need to show that there are more potential that people are getting now. What kind of dream it's going to be, I cannot tell you now. But this is about the dream, because those people, they were running and chasing and shooting each other, not because to have a land plot in the middle of nowhere. It was a dream that there, the life is going to be better than before. So, ladies and gentlemen, please think what kind of dream you are planning to do, as the marriage is already happening. Other thing, I love Latin America, so I like this example, empresarios. If someone doesn't know, so empresario by definition is the person who was hired by the Mexican government to incentivize and settle in the colonists in Texas. Empresarios were doing that role as recruiters or the brokers nowadays for about all the 19th century. And Stephen Austin was one of the key persons in that movement. So the thing is why I wanted to show this slide. I'm not going to read it out, but I liked few things is that because 200 years are separating us from empresarios, and now we are talking today. The majority of the bullet points are the same. To give big opportunities, they were giving big land plots, not the small ones, so people would be able to scale. To exempt from the taxes, to support the businesses, and really important thing is to allow people to choose what kind of businesses or the activities they want to do. The same as I said, we need to foster the ecosystem of the startups, not startups to do specific tasks. So this is the most important thing. And then 200 years doesn't mean that so many things changed. Now, another important thing, and okay, so to start with, in my opinion, Dubai is one of the best startups, the most successful startups in the world. Because, yes, it was founded late 60s, early 70s, but technically speaking, within 3 decades, it became one of the most desired place to live, desired place to do business, to travel, and to operate all the MENA region. And this startup was done by Al Maktoum family. So it's only one family, 2 generations created the gym. And the building, what you see, I think everyone knows, it's called Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. And the thing is that they started to plan the Khalifa not from the architectural perspective, but they gathered around the table the business analysts, the business consultants, and the architects to think not about the building itself, but what has to be done. So after the Khalifa is built, the ecosystem and all the network around the Khalifa would become prosperous and from external money. And as you know, who've been in Dubai, the real estate around the Khalifa is the most expensive, the offices are most desired, there are the best shops, the best restaurants. So what they've done, they've done an icon, a thing what was not impossible before, what was impossible before. And because it was a symbol there, all the networks, all the ecosystem, all the society started to settle up there. The other important and interesting example, at least to me, it's the Lion City in Saudi Arabia, which has started to being built now, if you heard about it. So the Lion City, it's kind of like a box. It's going to be 180 kilometers long and 200 meters wide. And the building, it's kind of like a building. So in that building, Saudians are planning to populate 9 million people by bringing and giving them all there, from the business to the sports, to the food, to the all kind of education, treatment, this, that. And it looks like, kind of futuristical movie, but I think they are planning to build it up until 2030. And the Line City is going to be totally sustainable, working only on the renewable energy. And it's, as you see in the picture, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the desert. So what I want to say here is that I don't believe in scattering the money or giving away money in the small portions to big amount of the society. Because if we want to attract the young people, other people to come to the villages, we need to focus on few but really big cases. We need to make them desire and want to come and be there. We need to make others to copy what is already done, to replicate it, or we need someone to try to do even better. So my advice is focus on big beacons, on big icons, instead of trying, to throw the helicopter money and see whether someone is gonna succeed or not. It just doesn't work, in my opinion. Almost conclusions is, my personal opinion is knowing all means nothing. And of course, it would be really most probably foolish to believe that all the startups now, because you've created this initiative and went into that nice long-term marriage, is going to come to the villages to live. Absolutely not. Plus, in the old Europe, the infrastructure is not ready, the land plots is not ready. I mean, a lot of things are not prepared. But I would say that the goal would be to structurize on specific areas and sectors which make sense in rural areas, as agriculture, as the forestry, as the water, as the sustainable industry, and when to focus on specific, to narrowing up directions which you are planning to target, or finance, or train, or educate. Depends from which angle we're looking at it. Also interesting and important thing I would say is that we will not be able to bring as much as we want people, as many as we want people from the urban culture to the European villages now, because they're just simply unprepared. So the idea and one of the things what we need to think of is about the people and the communities who are already living there. Because they are there, they know the problems, most probably they know the solutions. So if we're combining the local communities with the lighthouses, about what I was talking as the clusters, digital innovation hubs, which bringing the technology, bringing the education, the training, the capital, and technical assistance, in the combination, it might work perfectly, because those people knows what kind of problem there are and they can solve it. And I think if that would be feasible, we would avoid one of the biggest and the most common mistakes in a startup world. Worldwide classic statistic from venture capital fund is that the majority of the startups are going to the bankruptcy because they don't feel the pulse of the market. Majority of, I know so many companies, I've heard so many pitches of the tech startups who are working with the agri-food industry and doing some kind of technologies. They've never been in the village in their life. They never spoke, with the villagers. They think that the technology, what they are developing, because they love it and it's theirs, it's going to work, it's going to be sustainable, efficient, and bring some value to the customer. In most of the cases, not. So if we are empowering the local ecosystem to do what it's needed, the magic happens. So I think the reduction of the failures should also be, reduction of the failures should be increased in that way. And before the remarks, still sad story. Now, with a decade, I think it's going to be a success story, because with our help, economical, financial, military, I do believe that Ukraine is going to win this war and beat the crisis. And the thing is that when they will win, we will not be talking about rebuilding the villages or reconstructing the villages. We are talking about building the future villages from the scratch. So they will be the first ones who will be the pioneers and the pilots of shaping the new future of smart villages, of startup villages. And with all our help, it's going to be, I think, the best use case and the best example. Once that hell, what's happening and taking the place now, is going to be over. So remember that I think Ukraine is going to strive once and with our help. So ladies and gentlemen, just to wrap up, because my time is running out and everyone wants to have the coffee, I think that we need to have those local impresarios in rural areas, digital innovation hubs, clusters, EAT, and similar ecosystem members. I think we need to focus on narrow things, but to do those iconical, big things, it's important. We cannot, forget the local communities because without them, it's impossible to go further. And I really wish you, romantic and successful marriage. I wish you to be that network of networks about which I started to talk on November. And, may God be with you. Enjoy the break. Thank you.
Augustas, I have one more question, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Just to reiterate what you have said, because we have heard this idea twice now. You have said that the startups don't feel the pulse sometimes, and that's something that Mr. Janulevičius was saying too. Some startups are wasting ideas by basically wasting money by developing ideas that do not last. So how do we make sure that doesn't happen in rural areas, for example, or it happens as little as possible, that investors do not put their money into startups that do not last? What do you do? How do you choose? Maybe you have an advice for everybody else in Europe.
Yes, so first thing, as already told, it's a hands-on the market. But the other thing is that I believe in the supervision. I mean, if we are talking about our own companies, and the majority of, I know you're having your own businesses, what we do, if we see something is leaking somewhere, we start to put the micromanagement there to fix the issue, like a plumbers. I believe that the digital innovation hubs and the clusters might work as that role, because as I'm investing myself and via the venture capital funds, and for example, before the coronavirus, none of Lithuanian funds were talking venture capital funds. We're talking about investing into the agri-food tech. Once the COVID started and the resilience problem, food supply chain, people consuming behavior habitat started, all the funds, because agri-food tech increased in the investments about 15 times for 1 year in the world. All Lithuanian venture capital funds, having no clue what agri-food means, started to throw the money to different. I mean, if you in your name you're putting that you're doing some kind of tech to the agri-food, the money goes there. It's wrong, because you don't need to chase the trends. You need to have the supervisors who is going to take care of your investment and who understands the domain. So supervision and hands-on on the market. That would be my answer.
But if there are, for example, people who have a startup idea, what would you say is missing in the market? What sort of a startup would answer to all of those needs and be relevant, that would, feel the pulse, as you say? Which is the area in which most of the startups are missing? What is the area that is the most prosperous?
Cannot tell that on the stage, especially if we are broadcasting. I would say what helps to do any kind of actions and desires you're having, it's a passion in the heart. So those people who are having the belief and the passion, they have way more chances than well-educated, sophisticated, but no fire in the heart.
That's a very important piece of advice. Thank you so much. Augustas Alešiūnas.